Wolfe and Frank Fritz roll into Detroit under gray skies, the kind of dreary afternoon light that seems to mute everything, even possibility. The city hums with history, abandoned factories and storefronts whispering of better times, and the two pickers know that in places like this, what looks forgotten can be gold. Today they're chasing more than the usual rust and dust deals. Today the stakes feel higher. Frank's been handed the lead on this one, a tip about a piece so rare it could redefine his year. He drives the van down a cracked asphalt lane behind a shuttered industrial lot. The owner, a retired machinist with a fondness for weird metal relics, greets them in the doorway of a corrugated steel shed. Inside, the air smells of oil and old machinery. Shafts of late afternoon light glint off piles of car parts, old signage, tools, and then, there it is. A great piece, one of the kind that makes a picker's heart skip, bold, visible, imposing in its presence rather than some tiny weird collectible in the corner. Frank steps closer. He knows this one carries risk. Not just the cost, but the logistics of moving it, the restoration work it might need, the question of whether the market will ever pay what he hopes. The owner names his figure, and Frank's brows lift. It's significant. Too significant maybe, for this setting. He feels the weight of the moment. This could be the pick of the season, but if he missteps, he could walk away with a big slug of regret. He asks questions, probes for condition, provenance, quirks. The owner talks about its origins, how it sat in a factory corridor for decades before being rescued, how the mongrel years of neglect left surface scars, but also imbued character. Frank imagines it in his shop, cleaned, polished, lit right, destined for someone who recognizes its story. He negotiates. The owner has hope too, maybe a little stubbornness. Frank works his charm, uses the usual tactics, pointing out the cost of shipping, of restoration, of the uncertainty inherent in this piece. The back and forth stretches. Finally they agree. The deal is struck. Frank shakes hands. Relief and excitement mingle in his chest. But he knows the real work begins now, moving it, prepping it, hosting it for finders and buyers. He glances at Mike, who nods. He sees it too. Meanwhile, Mike's mission diverges. He's been tracking a different kind of find, a war-era artifact, a serious piece tied to sacrifice and memory. A purple heart, the kind of thing that goes beyond pure commerce, touches something more profound. He meets the owner, a veteran or heir, someone with a story, not just an object. They walk through a garage filled with memorabilia, patches, medals, photographs. Mike pauses. This isn't just about buying and selling. It's about respect, history, and promise. The owner wants it handled right. He wants someone who'll appreciate the legacy. Mike listens. The object is authentic, heavy with import. Negotiations begin. It's tougher. Emotional value is intertwined with monetary value. Mike senses the weight. He offers a figure, discusses display possibilities, what the piece should become afterward. The owner asks about the buyer. Mike promises integrity. He shakes the owner's hand. The deal is done. Later, Mike and Frank regroup in the van, both quiet in their thoughts. Frank's crouched next to the rear ramp, thinking about how this big piece will travel, get loaded, how the shop will prep it. Mike reviews shipping logistics, potential exhibits, cataloging the hard metal, framing it maybe, finding the right collector who cares as much about story as value. At the shop, Frank begins the cleanup, specs, dimensions, prepping the site, measuring ramp clearance, negotiating transport. He calls his team, figures out timelines. Every scratch tells a story, every dent is a character. He takes pictures, notes rust patterns, estimates restoration cost. He knows that in this business the gamble isn't simply buying low and selling high, it's buying right, logistics, timing, condition, story, and market. The risk in front of him has many tentacles. Mike sets aside the Purple Heart and begins compiling provenance, matching up documentation, taking photos, prepping a narrative for whoever will root for this piece. He knows that sometimes the best pick isn't the flashiest car, the can't believe it sign, the $1 million toy, it's something that resonates emotionally. This one does. He plots where to display it, maybe a museum-type environment or a high-end collector who values significance. As evening falls, Frank and Mike meet up again. Over coffee, they discuss margins, logistics, what could go wrong. Frank admits he's sweating slightly, big buy, big cost. Mike nods. Every pick is a risk. Sometimes you buy something tremendous and market doesn't bite or cost of bringing it up overwhelms. Sometimes you pass thinking it's too risky, only to watch it sell for way more. They share war stories. The next morning they load the big piece. It requires a crane, straps, padding, careful maneuvering. The owner watches as it travels out of his shed for the first time in decades. Frank calls, "Okay," and the ramp begins to rise. The sun breaks through clouds. It's loaded. Mike drives off with the Purple Heart in a protective case. He sets aside drive time thinking about the person behind the medal, how the piece will be honored. He reflects on value beyond dollars. Back at the shop later, the big piece takes center stage. Frank gives it an inspection. Surface rust, missing hardware, scratches. He makes a plan: disassembly, sandblast, powder coat, highlight patina where appropriate. He debates preserving some original wear because that tells the story. He quotes out restoration, time, manpower. He uses his cell to run comps. What similar items sold for, what condition, what location. He compiles a spreadsheet in his head, mentally deducting restoration cost, transport, shop time, insurance. He knows if selling at current market he needs to aim for a price that covers everything plus makes it worth it. The risk: heavy transport cost, uncertain market, restoration unknowns. The reward: a showpiece, marketing gold, good margin. Mike meanwhile meets with a potential buyer for the medal, a collector of military memorabilia, someone with a museum wall in his home. They inspect provenance, discuss display possibilities. Mike emphasizes authenticity and story. They shake on price. Mike books the deal. In the debrief that evening, the two share enthusiasm. Frank raves about how the big piece will dominate the showroom when ready. Mike smiles about the Purple Heart and the extra mission, a plan to donate part of proceeds to a veterans foundation. He expects goodwill and good press, meaning more business. They both acknowledge. This episode is about risk and reward, about going beyond the usual small-scale pickups into high-stakes territory. The next day the van is hit with a mechanical glitch, one of the ramps malfunctioning, causing delay and extra cost. Frank curses under his breath but stays calm, the unpredictable nature of big pickups. He calls the driver and schedules repair. He shifts timeline. The incident reminds them that dealing with big items means dealing with bigger problems. Meanwhile Mike's buyer backs out temporarily, citing unexpected renovation costs in his collector basement. Mike negotiates again, shifts terms, offers flexible payment. He knows risk always lurks. Even after the buy, the sell isn't guaranteed until the handshake and the check. After a few days the big piece is restored, drift back in the van towards the showroom. Frank watches as the crane lowers it into place. He steps back, satisfied. He marks restoration complete. He takes shot photos for marketing, lighting dramatic, emphasizing history, insiders nodding. He knows the two old guys in the back of the shop gawking already see what he sees, a trophy piece. The medal sale closes. Mike hands off the Purple Heart. The collector smiles. Mike feels pride. He's pleased the piece will be honored and displayed properly. At the end of the week they tally up. Frank's piece will cost high, transport, restoration, display, maybe more than any item they've taken in recent months. But he feels confident. Mike's sale goes through as planned. The combined week yields profit, but not an easy profit. They talk logistics, time invested, risk accepted, reward earned. They reflect on how picking isn't just about quantity or low cost, it's about recognizing something rare, being willing to make the move when others hesitate, accepting risk. In the closing scene, they load up again, wind roads stretching ahead. Frank drives, glances at the big piece secured behind. Mike rides shotgun, thinking of the Purple Heart's new home. They're tired but energized, for bigger hunts ahead. Risk remains, reward possibly even bigger. The curtain drops on season 16's, risks and rewards, not with a guaranteed jackpot, but with the acknowledgement that in their world the biggest wins come when you step up, commit, take the chance, and pray the market catches up with your vision. If you like, I can provide a scene-by-scene breakdown of this episode with timestamps and major items found. Would you like that?